Ghana. The question dividing Parliament today as it proceeds with consideration of the anti-gay bill.
You are looking at a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 25 years, which appear to be too high-handed if you were also looking at restorative. If you were looking at only misdemeanor, that also appeared to be too lenient, not to act as a deterrent. And that is why we suggested a second-degree felony.
We have detailed. Communications Minister Eslo Usue-Kufo warns Parliament against inadvertent criminalization of the use of sex toys by homosexual couples, but heterosexual couples.
Because sexual intercourse between a man and an inanimate object, or a woman and an inanimate object, would necessarily include sexual intercourse with all manner of aids that couples use to enhance the sexual experience.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Question: how severe should the penalty be for homosexuals in Ghana? Tonight, that is the question dividing Parliament as the House continues its consideration of the controversial anti-gay bill. Parliament could not agree on the appropriate punishment for LGBTQ plus persons. The anti-gay bill criminalizes sex between persons of the same sex, between man or woman and animal or object, and proposes a punishment of up to 5 years, between 3 and 5 years. But the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee recommended a jail term of up to 3 years without recommending a minimum sentence. Chairman of the committee explains the rationale behind the proposal, which has become pretty controversial on the floor of Parliament today.
Mr. Speaker, I hold the original appeal that was filed in this House. Even though we run to the wall under clauses 19 to 23, this is what the proponents have as part of the memorandum to the bill. Clauses 19 to 23 deal with the protection and support for victims, accused, and other persons. These provisions are included as a recognition of the distinction between lifestyle activists and persons who engage in the acts prohibited by the bill as a result of social, cultural, financial, medical, psychological, or biological reasons. This is in recognition that as minorities, these persons need the support, protection, and love of the majority to help them overcome their vulnerabilities and to give them options so they may be helped. It's only this portion I want to read. But Mr. Speaker, in course of the consideration, this is what I already informed members that we needed to iron out this. And most of the religious bodies were supporting the fact that they would give people who are prepared to go through reforms the opportunity to go through. If we make a strict law that if you are found guilty or you practice in this, you don't have an option. Mr. Speaker, we don't have a community service. That would have been severer than giving the person a custodial sentence, because the society would look down upon you. But to caution you or to give you a day's imprisonment or 1 month imprisonment, if we leave it to the discretion of the judge, they are also members of the society, they are learned, and depending on the circumstances. And that's why I am comfortable if we give the upper limit without saying that the person must be imprisoned as the minimum requirement.
Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante joins me right now. Kweku, what's the issue with the proposal we just had articulated by the chairman of the committee?
Evan, so the committee and the sponsors agree that if you are found to have had sex with a man, if you're a man or a woman with a woman or any object, you should go to jail for 3 years. The real disagreement on the floor now is whether or not there should be minimum sentencing. In several laws, there are ceiling and there are minimum. For instance, in certain laws, the law would say you can be jailed up to the maximum of 25 years or a minimum of 5 years. The committee did not recommend any minimum threshold when it comes to sentencing people for LGBTQ activities. And the rationale, as the chairman lays out, is the fact that it is for the restorative value. So a judge should be able to look at the case, the peculiarities of the case, and decide that you should go in for a day or 2 hours or 3 hours just to send a certain signal. The committee pushed this forth, but the majority leader himself does not agree. He insists that there should be some minimum threshold. Although Sam George, who is a co-sponsor of this bill, actually agrees to a certain extent that the committee's recommendation should stand.
Now, with the engagement we had and the intentment not to be only punitive but restorative, the question arose that if you use the first degree felony, which is what is in 104, you are looking at a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 25 years, which appear to be too high-handed if you were also looking at restorative. If you were looking at only misdemeanor, that also appeared to be too lenient, not to act as a deterrent. And that is why we suggested a second degree felony, which is not in 104, which then sits in between the misdemeanor and the first degree. And that's why we suggested that the maximum should be 5 years, 3 years. But I agree with the position of the majority leader that in that case, we should then get an advice on what the minimum penalty of 750 units is concurrent with. Is it 3 months or 6 months? So that we have a lower limit also for custodial sentence. Is it a minimum of...
We don't need it because there's already a law on that. We don't need it. There's an existing law on the equivalence of penalty units. So that will apply.
Very well.
So the lower limit question is what he's proposing there. Have that too. What about the Speaker's position on this?
The Speaker of Parliament initially was not convinced by the sponsors and the committee's argument. So initially he was strictly opposed to that and argued in favor of putting a lower limit in the sentencing guidelines. But as the committee, the argument went back and forth, he said that he was sort of convinced. But because the House was unable to come to a decision, he is now going to refer this conflict to what is called in Parliament the draft person, the legislative drafting unit of the House, to consider and make a proposal as to whether or not there should be a limit or not. And then when the bill gets to the third reading, it will come back to the floor for a decision.
If it's the pleasure of the House, I will defer putting the question on that and leave it to the draft person to capture it. The position now is that usually before we go through the third reading, they will have compiled our decisions, brought it to us. We'll go through to make sure that our decisions are really captured before we do the third reading. And so there should be no fear. With this, we defer question on it and we refer it to the draft person for the appropriate rendition.
And then there was this very interesting intervention by the Communications Minister. What was it about?
Yes, in fact, early on, before the Communication Minister would walk into Parliament, there had been an amendment to add that if you have sex or purport to have sex with an object or marry an object, you are committing an offense in law which you could be punished for. And so when she came in later and the conversation was advancing, and then she sort of heard that is some of the position that the House had taken, she was on her feet to argue that not just gay couples or LGBTQ persons use sex toys and other what she calls aids to have sex, and that even heterosexual couples, that is sex between a man and a woman, sometimes they call in the aid of sex toys to enhance the sexual experience for the man and the woman, the wife and the husband. And she wants Parliament to advertise their mind to the fact that they could inadvertently be criminalizing heterosexual couple using sex toys and sex aids.
And I think we raised this when the committee was considering it, that the proposed amendment in 3C may create unintended consequences, because sexual intercourse between a man and an inanimate object or a woman and an inanimate object would necessarily include sexual intercourse with all manner of aids that couples use to enhance the sexual experience. And I'm not sure if that's what the intention of this bill is. It would necessarily include sex toys and other aids that couples, heterosexual couples, also use to enhance the sexual experience. So if that is what the House intends, then we have to be clear in our minds that we may be criminalizing activity which may not necessarily be limited to only those LGBTQI community that the target of this bill is. But it may also be targeting straight couples who use sex enhancement tools to enhance the sexual experience. So we need to be mindful of what the unintended consequences of 3C could be. And I propose that 3C be deleted from this amendment. Thank you.
Let's bring in Roxy Nelson. Dafia Mekbo is a Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee member, also one of the sponsors of this bill. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story. So where do you stand on this question of this lower limit?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm in support of the lower limit because, you see, the legislation we are considering and that will lead to an enactment, there are certain aspects of the conduct we need to prescribe that may not necessarily have to lead to a custodial sentence. Because regarding the minimum, that became an issue of tango on the floor. It means the courts wouldn't have a discretion to even caution someone and discharge him after the person has been convicted. But the intent of this legislation is not to necessarily put people in prison. There will be circumstances where during prosecution or after a successful prosecution and conviction, the court may be minded, depending on the peculiarity of the facts of the case and the applicable law, to nearly caution the person to go and be of some good conduct, not involving the conduct that brought the person to court. So we want a legislation where there can be upper ceiling, but the lower ceiling will be left at the discretion of the judge to exercise after a successful prosecution.
But where's the question of deterrence then comes up? I mean, that then leaves room for, people not to feel that they've been, the sanctions are severe enough to prevent others from doing same. That's the whole purpose of this, isn't it?
Yes, the essence of deterrence, the issue of deterrence that you raised also came up. But you see, the essence of legislation is not always to imprison. Sometimes deterrence can be achieved with the experience that the person must have gone through during prosecution. Attending court, standing in the dock, being questioned, answering questions, and all that will be an experience that can constitute a deterrent. And based on the peculiarity of the case, the peculiar sets of facts of the case that would have brought you to court, the court will be minded to caution. You understand? But if you tie the hands of the judge and set a minimum sentencing regime, then in situations where the judge would have been minded to caution, because his hands are tied by legislation, the court will mandatorily have to impose a custodial sentence, even if it's a minimum one. When indeed, if there were no minimum mandatory requirement in law, the court would have cautioned you after conviction. And we want that to be in the law. We don't want a situation where always the court will mandatorily will have to convict somebody. Because the essence of this legislation is to ensure reform in matters that we seek to prescribe.
I mean, as we speak now, the Speaker did not take the decision on this, deferred it. What does that mean exactly? I mean, to go back to the drafting.
What it means is that there were two provisions that appear to contain similar provisions on this matter. So it was agreed that we would defer to the draft person to tidy the provisions up so that it will reflect the true intent of the House to dealing with this matter and re-advertise those newly crafted provisions for our consideration tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And it is a practice that we engage in all the time in Parliament during consideration stage, where a provision in a bill is crafted in such a way that it's not reflecting the true intent of the House after deliberations. The draft persons are called upon to redraft it to reflect the intent of the House and resubmit.
But considering that there are different views on this matter, what would that draft say? That the lower limit, have a lower limit, or still keep the 3 years without the minimum sentence?
You see, the 3 years minimum and the 24. In fact, the existing penal provision regarding the offences contained in Section 104 of Act 29 is what says the minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 25 years. That is the unnatural carnal knowledge. But the conduct that the current legislation is looking at is more expansive than unnatural carnal knowledge. So in that regard, you must also provide a penal regime that will have a much lower threshold in terms of the sentencing regime, as well as the not going beyond the upper limit as imposed in Section 104 of Act 29. So some of us are for the fact that let's set an upper ceiling, but the lower ceiling, the court should have the discretion to impose a caution. For instance, if the facts of the case it warrants that the court should caution the person and discharge, because we should be able to anticipate that in the law and provide for it, because it will happen.
And then there was a question about how do you interpret, for example, the 750 units, which obviously the law spells out what that is.
It's not an interpretation. It's to stating it in an equivalence, because it was completely missing. So the majority leader was of the opinion that once we are able to indicate the penal units applicable, we should be able to give the equivalent in custodial sentence, as is done in all other sister legislation, so that, for instance, if the court is minded to impose a fine, then the applicable penal unit, a penalty unit will apply. So if the penalty unit is calculated and translated into, because 12 penalty units, one penalty unit is equivalent to 12 cedis. So if, for instance, 720 penalty units is awarded against you, that would translate into a sum of money. Now, the standard legislation, the drafting style is that when you are unable to pay this penalty penal sum, then in lieu of that, you have to a custodial sentence will have to be imposed, and that must be stated in the equivalent of years. So it could be 5 years. In lieu of that, 5 years imprisonment. And that imprisonment must come with either one of three descriptions: imprisonment in hard labor or without hard labor.
And just out of curiosity, because you mentioned unnatural carnal knowledge, before this bill was even mooted, anytime the issue about homosexuality comes up, everybody will refer to unnatural carnal knowledge. When this bill is passed, what happens to that act? Unnatural carnal knowledge, which exists already, has a very severe prescribed penalty for it. When your bill is passed, it still remains?
It still exists in the law. It's not be outlawed. The fact that it's a provision in Act 29 contains this does not detract from the fact that another law cannot make provision for it, especially when they do not contradict each other. So we have a lot of laws where penal or offenses that prescribe corruption in a lot of laws. And I can cite Act 29, the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, the Yoko Act, all of them. They contain provisions that forbids the offense of corruption and corruptible practices. So it doesn't detract from the fact that another law cannot provide for it.
What timelines are you working with now, considering that this particular decision has been deferred?
I should say that the bill is progressing quite fast. It's not a heavy bill. It's a bill that contains about 32 provisions. So today we've worked up to about clause 7. Between clause 1 and clause 7 contains some of the most contentious provisions. Then once we have overcome them, I'm sure the rest are not contentious, and the advertised amendments as I saw them today are also not contentious. They are the amendments that are to enhance the contents of the bill, so they will not be contested. So I'm sure if we go back to it tomorrow, we will make further progress, and God willing, by the end of next week, we may finish consideration, and it will be up to the business committee to prioritize it for the third reading, and then it could be passed.
One of the major criticism against this bill, and we've had the international community use that quite often, is that this is a bill that is seeking to imprison people for expressing a sexual preference. Here you are talking about, well, you don't want a lower limit because you want to give the judge room not to imprison necessarily, but also simply caution. Back of your heads, are you thinking about the international ramifications and that may be influencing this very soft approach to this when this started off as a very severe penalty?
No, I think it's rather the international communities, or I don't know which international communities these are anyway. Those people who are raising issue regarding the bill, perhaps having taken their time to read the bill carefully and see exactly what we seek to do. Nobody is intending to imprison anybody with this bill. It's a conduct that we think that we should check as a people, as a sovereign people. And I think that from that perspective, they should appreciate what we are doing. I wouldn't sit here and be anticipating that a judge will have the power to caution people to desist from a certain conduct prescribed by this law if I'm not minded to. But I know exactly what we intend to do. It's not about imprisoning people at all. It is to let people appreciate the fact that this is conduct that we do not want. So if you engage in it, the courts will look at the facts and the law and make pronouncement on its merits. But we want to make provision in such a way that the court can give you the opportunity to go and amend your ways. There are a lot of offenses in our laws where the courts are given the opportunity or the discretion to caution people when they charge them after they are convicted of the offense. And that's exactly what I think we should have in this legislation. So that tomorrow, when the court opportunity, they can exercise that. It's that simple. I'm not doing this, or I'm not advocating for this in response to the concerns raised by the international community. We rather want them to support us to do this as a sovereign people.
I mean, an interesting point indeed that you don't mind if a judge just simply gives a caution to somebody who has been found guilty on this subject, considering how contentious this subject is. I'm grateful. That's Roxing Nelson Dafiamekbo there. But let's bring in the chief advocates in this, and they've been campaigning for this bill to be passed because they abhor the act of homosexuality. Adam Senanu is the chairperson of the Advocates for Christ Ghana. Adam, thanks for your time here on Top Story. You've heard Roxanne Nelson FM. It was on the floor today, a debate around the severity of the sanctions. It's an upper limit of 3 years, but give the judge the room if the judge simply wants to caution somebody found guilty to do so, not necessarily imprisoning all the time. Do you agree with that concept, the concept of cautioning individuals found guilty of homosexuality if this law is passed and not necessarily imprisoned?
Well, yeah, I think that's a fair way to go, especially if they would have a follow-up just in case the person is cautioned more than once. Then you needed to then, as it were, step up the level of sanction. But it is fair because the concept is not about just penalizing people for the sake of it. It's simply to ensure that certain things are not promoted. So I don't think that anybody should have a problem if a judge thinks that the merits of the case are such that they just want to caution the individual or individuals as the case may be.
So it wasn't as if you guys were bloodthirsty, looking for a lot of people to throw in jail.
That's never the case. Actually, the truth of the matter is I like to use the example of having a kid who is a bedwetter, and you need to encourage the person to stop bedwetting. It's a practice that obviously we all frown on. The idea is not to then try and find ways of making the person feel pain. That will not get the end result. So absolutely not. Never was the case that we simply want to throw people into jail.
Thank you very much, Adam Senandu, the Advocates for Christ. What about you? What do you make of this? This is one of those issues that the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians have a view on. Now you've heard the MP say, well, listen, they don't always want imprisonment for those found guilty on this matter. They will tolerate a simple caution. Give me your thoughts.
Merry Christmas!
Uncle Yofi, what's the Wi-Fi password? I'll be downloading the music set for the party. Janice will stream old McDonald's for the kids. Mommy said she'll be trying a new YouTube recipe for oven grilled chicken. Daddy!
No worries at all. I've got 200% bonus data on my Vodafone fixed broadband this Christmas.
200% bonus data? Woohoo! It's giving Christmas vibes. Vodafone be doing the most this Christmas.
Celebrate Christmas with 200% bonus data when you pay 2 months of your Vodafone fixed broadband subscription. Simply dial *900# or visit My Vodafone app or myvodafone.vodafone.com.gh to sign up or upgrade your offer. Vodafone, further together.
Ready? Let's go. We all go bring some savannah.
Everyone is dancing, everyone is singing, because everyone is painting with Savannah. Savannah paints from Azar are affordable enough for everybody to fulfill their paint needs. Paint more, pay less. Savannah paint, we all go paint some.
We all go paint some Savannah. We all go paint some.
It's raining beautiful goodies at Maidan Home Deco this Christmas.
Joy to the world.
Our stores are wide open and ready to treat you this Yuletide. Maidan Home Decor has all the essentials to decorate your home. Christmas decorations, throw pillows, vases, photo frames, and many more. We assist clients create their personal and corporate hampers with our exquisite gift items. Your bedrooms will come alive with our high-quality bed and bath products made of 100% Egyptian cotton. Our international brands such as Canon, Fieldcrest, Waverly are leaders in offering the most comfortable pillows, towels, bed in a bag, duvets in amazing colors and textures. It's a good time of year to give your home a facelift. Maidan is ready to give your home a simple yet trendy look. Look out for us in Accra, Junction, Achimota, and West Hills Mall. Follow us on Instagram. Maidan Home Deco. We bring quality and comfort to your home.
Ebrason, say ye mayen lorry akwan so ho banbo hia yen yie pa. Said ye beya ahyenkafo a wode ahyen tumirika hunu ne wone a sekane so kokokora no atwa fa so. Ne dodro na wo bu lorry akwan so mra so. Enko nkotwimfa ya wofo ne ye mofra so enkopra won anam enkokum won. Na ye nyina atena nkomu a akwanhia bie ni ho. Webra a police for de we hinta hunani no ehwe bibia. Ye da traffic tech GH a ye fidie fofra etwa mfoni efiri Ghana police edumakuo no ho edi. Enam mfoni efidie betwa so ebema police fo ehunu won ya wo bu lorry akwan so mra so. Ne wama won asotwe siketua ho tikete. She lorry akwan so yie. #PL. Enam Ghana police edumakuo ene National Road Safety Authority fonsa oswo ene de sade wo boy tuja.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. Tonight, the setting up of the Office of the Special Prosecutor was an act in futility. Views of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, he insists the office will not achieve any results.
For the law you passed on the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I did tell you that it was an act in futility.
Meanwhile, ranking member on Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee says government is simply frustrating Special Prosecutor Kissie Jabing to force him out of office.
Mr. Speaker, do we want a young man, 43 years, removed from the lecture theatre and the courtroom and appointed as a special prosecutor to also resign as a result of frustration?
We have details as Parliament approves 149 million cedis for the OSP as part of the 2024 budget. District Assembly election is not just for the lower class. Local government minister calls for the participation of the upper class in the District Assembly elections, which is just a week away, as he aims for more than 50% voter turnout.
So it's possible to go beyond 50%. And that's why we think that if you are supporting, if you are help, maybe come 19th December, will go beyond 50%.
Details as the campaign heats up in parts of the country as candidates canvass for votes.
So the role of Assembly Member 1, you are the intermediary between your community members and local governments. Let me put it that way.
You are mandated to attend all General Assembly meetings and subcommittee meetings.
Also tonight, you cannot push an artificial controversy to divide us. NDC National Chairman stands firm, dispelling assertions that John Mahama is considering a male as a running mate for the 2024 election.
When I saw the publication that President Mahama has said he will be choosing a male and it was a banner headline, and so I said, why? So I don't know where these fabrications are coming from.
And in business, National Petroleum Authority insists benefits of new requirement for fuel imports outweigh the cost and pricing concerns.
In sports, Manchester United on the verge of being dumped out of this season's UEFA Champions League if they fail to beat Bayern Munich later tonight.
Talking about a male running mate, we're hearing tonight from the First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, who says she hopes to see a woman become president of Ghana someday.
Like Martin Luther King, I also have a dream. I dream that one day there will be a woman president in Ghana.
And beyond the odds, also 61-year-old visually impaired Clement has refused to be a burden on his family. He wants to fend for himself.
My grandfather had same challenges with his eyes.
I have
the hope that one day my situation will get better.
That's coming up in our Stories of Hope. That's and more on tonight's edition of Newsnight. Please join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp 055-11-11997. We are live on Facebook. We are on X Spaces, and you can leave your comments there with the hashtag Newsnight. I am Emefa, Apawu.
And my name is Mensah, and we start tonight from Parliament, where the Speaker there says the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor was an act in futility and will truly not achieve any results.
Well, speaking during the consideration of the anti-gay bill, which we've been talking about on Top Story, the Speaker of Parliament stressed that there was no way the creation of that office could deal with the canker of corruption. The Speaker insisted the Attorney General's department should rather be decoupled from the Ministry of Justice, arguing he made these points, but it was not listened to.
For the law you passed on the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, I did tell you that it was an act in futility. You were not going to achieve anything from that, but you went ahead to pass it. I disagreed with you, but I was alone. But I'm very clear in my mind that that authority is embedded in the powers of the Attorney General, constitutionally. Who delegated to who? No, but that is not what you put in the act. What you just need to do is to fund the office of the Attorney General well and remove the Minister of Justice. You separate the two. Minister of Justice is a political appointee. The Attorney General is a technical person, and he only is ranked in conditions of service to that of a Minister of State. It doesn't mean they have to be incorporated too.
Well, Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Santi joins us. Kweku, so many are of the view that this is an issue that we've actually dealt with, been there, done that. What really triggered this comment from the Speaker today on this?
Well, the House was discussing the anti-LGBTQ bill. It was completely out of the blue when Nelson, the Emefa, was making the point that despite there being other offences dealing with corruption in other laws on Ghana statutes, Parliament still found it necessary to enact the OSC law to criminalize corruption and to also give enough powers to the OSC to go after corrupt persons. Just when he finished and he took his seat, the Speaker of Parliament went on a tirade, arguing that he had argued against setting up the special prosecutor. Not necessarily is he against the occupant of the office, not Kishie Jebin or the former special prosecutor Martin Amidu, but that he believes that setting up the special prosecutor will not fight corruption. In his opinion, he believes that the best thing to do for Parliament should have been advocate for the decoupling of the Attorney General's office from the Minister for Justice. The Minister of Justice will continue to be a politician, a lawyer for the government, but that the Attorney General will be an independent office, giving enough resources to do his job. And that, as far as he's concerned, he was convinced from the very day that this special prosecutor issues came up in Parliament for the bill to be passed to make it a law to appoint a special prosecutor, but it was ill-fated and it was not going to achieve any results.
Well, this definitely must have generated a debate. Quickly, though, what's been the reaction? Because I know that they've been approving the OSP's budget as well. What's been the reaction, especially to the Speaker's comments?
Well, so initially when the Speaker made this comment, there was no comment from any member of Parliament because the subject of discussion was the anti-LGBTQ bill. But of course, the majority leader was in the seat, gesturing to the Speaker. They almost having a banter, but off the record in Parliament. But later on, about 2 or 3 hours later, when the House came to consider the office of the Special Prosecutor's budget, at the time, the Speaker of Parliament himself was not in the chair. It was his Deputy Speaker, Andrew Amoako-Isiama, who was seated and presiding over the House. Bernard Ahiafo, the ranking member on the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, argued that it appeared to him from everything he has seen, in particular the amount of money that was being allocated to the special prosecutor and all the issues that have come up, including two weeks ago, the OSC complaining that the courts were not helping him, that this government wants to frustrate the special prosecutor until he resigns.
All institutions must come together to support the office of the special prosecutor. I believe strongly because the office of the special prosecutor is not getting the institutional support, he had to do a press conference to say that his Ankwa Noma Odinikra Abo Afore is working alone. He's sacrificing his life. If you listen to him, you can come to a conclusion that this is a statement made out of frustration. Mr. Speaker, do we want a young man, 43 years, removed from the lecture theatre and the courtroom and appointed as a special prosecutor to also resign as a result of frustration? I believe that the first special prosecutor that we have appointed similarly resigned, and after resignation, he indicated that the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, is a mother serpent for corruption. Corruption affects everybody. Therefore, the office of the special prosecutor needed all institutions to support him in order to perform his functions creditably.
Well, and Kweku, there's a quick reaction to that from the Minister of Communication, Eslo Uswekufo. What's her justification?
To Eslo Usu, there is not a single ministry, department, or government agency that gets 100% of the amount of money allocated in the previous year's budget. And that simply because there have been slow release of funds to the special prosecutor could not constitute evidence that there was an agenda to frustrate his work.
As long-standing members of this House, I'm sure we are all aware of the annual budget ritual where all ministries, departments, and agencies decry the fact that despite their budget needs, almost invariably, they never get sufficient resources to enable them prosecute their mandate. Every agency, ministry, or department that appears before the committees of the House, including the Constitutional, Legal, and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, faces that situation. So I'm very surprised that the ranking member will seek to intimate that the budget allocation to the special prosecutor, which is less than what he has requested, is as a result of government's lack of commitment to fighting corruption. I don't think that can ever be the situation, because every ministry, department, or agency that appears before this House suffers from that same situation.
Well, as you may know, the House has been considering the budget of the OSP, which was subject to some controversy. And Kweku is back on. Kweku, so on the budget of the OSP, was it approved and how much was it?
Yes, Evans, 149 million Ghana cedi for the Office of the Special Prosecutor to spend in 2024. Of course, there are some members of Parliament on the floor who argued that it appears 149 million was not enough because the Special Prosecutor still had to recruit a lot more staff, buy a lot more cars to be able to fully operationalize the office. But the argument that advanced right from the committee to the floor of the House was that 149 million that had been budgeted for the office was enough, and that is what the Special Prosecutor will be entitled to in 2024.
Thank you very much, Kweku. I want to bring in Nusa Fuseni. He was a ranking member on the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee at the time when the OSP Act was drafted, reshaped, finalized, and approved. He joins us on the line right now. Mr. Fuseni, I'm grateful for your time here on Newsnight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I mean, do you agree the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor was an act in futility?
No, I don't. I just think that the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor was and still is one of the ways in which we're trying to deal with the canker of corruption. And so we're still searching for an appropriate institutional mechanism or institutional arrangement that can handle corruption and handle it effectively. We have said that that was part of the MPP's manifesto. And even before the MPP's manifesto of 2016, Kusindum had said that it was important to separate the office of the Minister for Justice from the office of the Attorney General. And that was the first major attempt at bringing the issue of the ineffectiveness of the Minister for Justice, who is also the Attorney General by the constitutional arrangement, in fighting corruption. And so people thought, and Kusindum was one of such people, who thought that, there was a need to separate the office from the minister's office, which is a political office, from that of the Attorney General, which is a technical professional office. And then come 2016, NPP included it in their manifesto and said they were going to establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And so I view all these things as the search. We're still in the search for an institutional arrangement that can really fight corruption effectively.
But look at the evidence for a second. The first OSP, Martin Amidu, quit. He says he was frustrated out of the job. You have a second OSP who just last week says he's working alone. He's almost been deserted and he's struggling and frustrated in his role. The evidence there says that those who passed this who formed the government. At least for those two officers who occupied it, they don't seem to have the handle on actually using that office to achieve the objectives which you just articulated, for which reason you supported his passage. Doesn't that support the view that it was an exercise in futility? He hasn't achieved much.
No, we are learning useful lessons. We're learning useful lessons from Martin Amidu. We're learning useful lessons from Kisiati. And I think that somehow we've also come to accept that the office has been weaponized. And it's just like the Court of Financial Laws legislation. And I don't think that it will be in the interest of any political party to scrap that office, because clearly people know that the office exists. And even if you are not having prosecutions, I mean, the fact that you can be sent to the special prosecutor's office is enough deterrent. And the periodic information given to the public on the number of cases being handled by the special prosecutor also goes some way in dealing with the issue of corruption. Yes, we want prosecution, we want investigations, but the matter has come up forcefully that we need to empower the office in such a way as to make it effective. And we're still looking for the remedies that can be applied to the office of the special prosecutor to make it really effective and fit for purpose.
I mean, to think about it, Ms. Nusaf Hussaini, the office hasn't secured one single successful conviction. That is definitely not good enough.
That's definitely not good. I mean, and when we were considering the bill, I mean, the issue of accountability was foremost on our minds, and in that of civil society. We have said that we're spending enormous resources in creating that office. That office would be budgeted for. We'll have to spend from public resources. And so we must justify the creation of that office. That's why we said that we inserted Section 3.3 of the Act 959, which is to the effect that the special prosecutor periodically informs the public of the number of convictions, the number of prosecutions, which cases are in court, how many convictions they have secured, how many acquittals, and all those things, so that we are able to do a value judgment whether the office is fit for. The fact that we have not convicted even a single soul, that the office of the special prosecutor is enough for all.
Thank you very much, Nusaf Hussaini, and still listening to News Night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Where do you stand on this? Send me a WhatsApp, 05511111997. Do you agree with the Speaker of Parliament that is an office that will set up in futility, or you agree with Nusaf Hussaini, who says he disagrees with that? We've learned useful lessons in ensuring that the OSP becomes effective down the line. Share your thoughts, 05511111997. And the district level elections is upon us, and tonight Emefa, there is a desperate rallying cry from the local government minister trying to rally all of us to go and vote.
And he's pleading with the urban dwellers especially to make a conscious effort to take part in this particular election as he tries to whip up interest in the upcoming elections. So voter turnout, we know, has remained low for more than 2 decades. Residents are expected to elect assemblymen and unit committee members to champion development in their various localities. So with a week to the polls, campaigning in the various localities, we know it's heating up. I'll take you to Ahimbronom North electoral area in the Ashanti region, and voters are banging their hopes on the only female aspirant to resolve the open defecation concerns in the area. Here's Anita Sewa's report read to you.
Residents at Old Tafo Municipal Assembly bemoan the increasing practice of open defecation in the municipality due to lack of proper toilet facilities. One public toilet serves the municipality. Community members are disappointed with the lack of effort of assemblymen elected over the years to improve sanitation. They are hoping to elect a woman in the upcoming district level election for the first time to improve the sanitation crisis.
If Honorable Hawa Mohammed is elected into office, I know her can do spirit, because even as her position right now, not even elected as any assemblywoman, or she's not even having any portfolio or any position, she's even fighting hard for us to get as much as more public toilets in this electoral area.
Na politine gugu efie chen yani ne dia gugu on the best year obetimi aboa ya solve our problem.
For the past 8 years, the current assemblyman hasn't been able to curtail open defecation.
Hawa Mohammed, the first lady to contest the district-level election in the area, plans to end open defecation at Old Tafu Municipal Assembly.
Not having a public toilet, if by the grace of God they vote me into the office, the first thing that I'm going to do is the public toilet for the neighborhood.
So what role exactly, you heard that assembly member there, or the aspirant, talk about tackling the public toilet there. What exactly is their role once they are elected? My colleague Sweetie Abochi engaged some aspirants as well.
So the role of assembly member one, you are the intermediary between your community members and local governments, let me put it that way. So more or less you represent the people in terms of their needs, their prioritization of their needs, you bring it to the assembly. So what needs to be done is that at every general assembly meeting, you the assembly member need to meet your electorate. What are their needs, what are their problems and challenges? That is what you bring to the discussion at the general assembly.
Is to represent your respective electoral area, and you are mandated to attend all general assembly meetings and subcommittee meetings, and you are to be the voice of the people.
So, Evans, unlike you, the Information Minister, Kojo Oponkruma, has been talking about the role of his assembly member. And he stressed the importance of these individuals in the governance organogram and their key roles in delivering on development targets in the various localities. Listen.
Because for most communities across the country, the closest form of governance that they engage with is the local government. It's a unit committee members and the assemblyman or the assemblywoman. On Friday evening, Minister, around 5 p.m., between 5 and 7 p.m. I sat in a unit committee meeting at Ofuasi Mempege. Mempege in Ofuasi. And there were about 6 issues that we were discussing. One was the local well that was out of service and needed to be fixed, and whose responsibility it was, and who had chopped the money, and how it should be resolved. But I assure you that it is a big deal to the about 1,000 people living in Ofuasi Mempege. Then, forgive this example. The next example was about the local toilet facility that had challenges and needed to be fixed. You may be living in Accra and driving in and out, living at dawn and coming back at home, so you are not seeing the posters in your area. But it was a big deal to our people. Sanitation, where what we call bola, the refuse dump that had not been cleared by the company responsible for it, and how it was contributing to insanitary conditions, and what the people wanted done about it. There's even something like noise pollution from the markets and information centers. These were issues that the members of the unit committee and the assemblyman were trying to come to terms with, so that they could forward to the assembly at the next meeting after the election. Because there was a debate about whether people will be retained or they won't be retained, the first 5 or not the first 5, all of that. But it shows you how important the local government structure is in the entire governance enterprise of this country.
Well, the local government minister himself, Damboche, has a very ambitious target. He wants 50% turnout and participation in the district level elections next week.
So it's possible to go beyond 50%. And that's why we think that with your support and your help, maybe come next December, we'll go beyond 50%.
Well, there have been calls for the voting day to be made a national holiday to afford many the time to participate in the elections. This is his view.
I'm not so sure of that. We believe that as this is particular elections that normally you don't have to be in the queue for a long time. You can really go and vote for, because just your area, you can just go and vote and still be able to take part in your normal work. Because at the end of the day, those who are on government payroll are not that as compared to the number we have in the voter roll. Because there are many people who are self-employed and they also go and vote. So I do not think that the real issue why we are not getting very high turnout is because of not declaring the day a holiday. It's so fundamental, it's so important to our democratic parties. It is the national constitution, it's in all the laws of Local Governance Act 936/2016, and it's so important that they perform a very important roles in at the unit level and also at the district level, and they coordinate, they integrate, and harmonize many programs and projects in the approved development plans in their district. And it's so important that we all get involved.
Well, local government analyst Fred Dodru Jackal believes without political influence it will be difficult to cure the apathy that has clouded the process.
You have two caucuses, particularly NPP and DC. Virtually every assembly, except where it is predominant one party in that area. But even if you don't have the besides the elected assembly members, there are also the governor appointees. So automatically, assembly members from the government side are going to be there, and they will be there to push the agenda of the ruling party. So you come to this realization that we claim our system is supposed to be non-partisan, but it is fully partisan, and we must own up to this fact.
Well, so we're getting ready. It's exactly a week from today. And Evans, I'm sure that you've been checking on it and you're hoping to participate fully. We are not getting a holiday, unfortunately, but we'll see how it goes. Let's do some few messages before we go for business. And Sami Kumasi says the Speaker of Parliament was not far from the truth. The OSP is just a creation to hunt political opponents, but not to fight corruption in real term. It is a complete waste of resources, he says. Now, some Banaman in the USA says, I don't think caution is enough to deter individuals caught in the act of LGBTQ activities. Ghanaians need a penalty that means go and sin no more. And he's talking about the story we've been tackling on Top Story. Musa Abatwa in Aswasi says, I essentially disagree with the portion where a judge has an opinion to caution a culprit who's caught in the act of homosexuality. And now Blaine Kumasi says the Speaker is very right. The OSP is a waste of public funds and should be closed down, he says. And my name is Malik from Kumasi. The Office of the Special Prosecutor was created just to make the world think we are fighting corruption. Here, it was just a facade. Let's do business.
Well, Emefa coming up, the National Petroleum Authority insists benefits of new requirement for fuel import outweigh cost and pricing concerns. And finance lecturer backs Bank of Ghana's resolve to strictly enforce forex exchange regulations in the banking sector, insisting it will boost confidence in that area. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business.
The way you're always getting alerts these days, I won't be surprised to hear that you have gotten a Momo for Business account by my next visitor.
Oh, I'm already on Momo for Business.
Since when?
Since. Now, it's easy to apply for a merchant SIM. All you need is a registered MTN number, your business certificate, your Ghana card, and you are good to go.
Sir,
you think you are the only one who knows what's up, eh? Look, I just dialed *5051#, selected register, and the region I was requesting the SIM from, and waited for my SMS with my reference number. You can even go online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh and complete the details for an even better experience.
Hey, Grandma Momo.
Sign up for Momo for Business the easy and simple way. Just visit momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh or dial *5051# and follow the prompts and be on your way to owning a Momo business account today for free. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom.
Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. For call us 0302 764101, 764209 or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project or demand, choose Syntex tank. Syntex tank, stress-free. Syntex tank, reliable. Syntex tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough.
It is your time to vote for your assembly members and unit committee members. So get involved and vote. It's a civic duty required of you as a Ghanaian. So get involved and vote.
A message from the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
Where for Shikibe? Where for Shikibe? Where for Shikibe? Yanko to a problem. Yanko to a bad problem. Yanko to a bad problem. Yanko to a bad problem. Me ato mi vedako. Mi vedako. Mi ato mi vedako. Muje Zakoria. Muje Zakoria. Zakoria. It is your time to vote for your assembly members and unit committee members. So get involved and vote.
A message from the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
Media Sambisanda mo. Eti emrati no. Mumu hoi pane tumi mfi na mo bodom pe mo man yakono.
Eye kwabna.
No mumu honsu ne tumi just mali me ma yene nyina de.
Eye kojo.
Enu kro. Kwabna tumi wi na bodom pe mo sense o yusu accident eba. Ayede yan ban ne do braye. Bo si eti na mo ban na sem ma na hode ne.
Sa.
Ani na kudwonsu yusu accident chako. Na enu ne de e ma wo se wo ye krejen fita. Na wantimi asiri bedwo ma na feel you.
Ey kojo.
Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Avenia.
You're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadian Katoyatu.
The luckiest. Luck is everywhere. For everyone. Yeah. The luckiest.
Keep buying your luckiest ticket with star 712 hash as an individual, a group, an association, or even a community, and stand a chance of winning in the community draw or the ultimate draw on 23rd of December. Be the luckiest on star 712 hash and win millions. Ticket sale starts on October 4th, 2023, and draw date is on 23rd December 2023. Play responsibly, not for persons under 18 years. This promotion is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform. Win millions on star 712 hash.
The luckiest, you could be the luckiest.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, National Petroleum Authority is insisting that the benefits of the new standards for fuel imports far outweigh the cost and price and concerns. Bulk oil distributors from January next year are required to bring in higher level of petroleum product specifications. This is expected to deal with quality concerns raised by some consumers. These importers have warned that it could come with some consumers paying more for it. Dr. Abdullah Said Kutia is head of quality assurance at the National Petroleum Authority and has been responding to these concerns.
Sometimes we are even having some of these problems. You see, there are times that we have to bite the bullet and move forward because the world is moving and we cannot stay behind. That is one of the kind of dragons that have led to this current situation from happening. Because it's not rocket science that we know higher manganese content have implications on newer technologies. But it's about whether as a country the stakeholders think it was time to take that one off. And it's always a difficult balance. But sometimes the consequences outweigh the prices you would have paid for.
Head of Quality Assurance at the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Abdullah Saeed Kutia. Now, finance lecturer Dr. Benjamin Amwa says he fully backs Bank of Ghana's resolve to strictly enforce foreign exchange regulations in the banking and financial sectors. It's coming after the Bank of Ghana indicated that it would move to strictly enforce the laws on forex market rules with the indication of naming and shaming. Dr. Amwa maintains that it could go a long way to boost confidence in the banking sector.
One incentive for regulation is to boost and to improve public confidence. And so if you have a regulator who is very lax, a regulator who is found sleeping on the job, then things will go wrong and that will rather erode public confidence in the financial market. So if the regulator Bank of Ghana will come hard and will insist that the right thing is done per the law or the laws that govern the financial institution space, especially the deposit-taking institution space and the players within the forex industry per Act 2006 at 723, then that is the right thing to do. And so one will expect Bank of Ghana to do more of this. And as they succeed in doing more of this, it rather boost and help build the needed public confidence in the economy.
Dr. Benjamin Amwa is a finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Unilever Ghana has admitted that the current economic challenge has impacted on its operations in terms of demand for products. This is due to how the current development has affected the purchasing power of consumers, which has impacted on volumes produced. Managing Director in Unilever Ghana, George Owusu, is however optimistic that the difficulty being faced by Unilever and other industries will be over soon.
It has done to us though is around affordability. So if you love the brand but you can't afford the brand, what do you do? In our industry, which is home and personal care, we've lost about 12-13% of volume.
And that is dependent on the purchasing power of these consumers.
Exactly.
And that the environment, the economy has impacted.
Exactly. So while some may have shifted to less expensive brands, even if it's not giving them all the benefits that they require, in totality, people are consuming less. And that is worrying.
And because of the environment.
Exactly.
They're impacting on their purchasing power.
Because of the loss in purchasing.
Managing Director of Unilever Ghana, George Owusu. Now, Chairman of Elite Mutual Funds, Dr. Victor Badankwa, is optimistic about the economy and investment picking up despite the current challenging environment. The debt exchange program and the current difficulties of the economy has impacted badly on investment in the capital market space. But speaking at the Elite Mutual Fund annual general meeting today, Dr. Badankwa noted that the stability being witnessed could help turn things around soon.
We can see that the economic pressures in the country are easing down. Inflation is gradually coming down. So the purchasing power of the people is improving gradually. People definitely will buy various forms of investment assets when they have extra disposable income. So if people's pockets are very much tightened up, then the tendency for them to concentrate on immediate personal needs of the family and themselves is higher than putting money aside for investments. The look is that things will improve.
Chairman of Elite Mutual Fund, Dr. Victor Badankwa speaking. The year-to-date return on these funds ending 2022 reached 14%. Now, shareholders' value is pegged at 51.9%. Shareholders also approved a resolution to change the fund's name to their First Finance Elite Mutual Fund PLC. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. If you had invested from January to date, your returns is more than 28%, and that is what you had if you had placed your funds on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. Back to you, Emefa and Evans.
Have a good evening. We have stories of hope now, and we'll take you to the Oti region. Is the remarkable resilience of Clement, a 61-year-old man who has not allowed his visual impairment to hinder his ability to provide for himself. Peter Senu has more.
We take you to Lekpe Kukrantumi in the Gwan district of the Oti region, where Clement, against all odds, is hoping things would turn out better for him someday. He got blinded gradually from age 15. He says only 2 of his other 5 siblings could see. The rest have had to endure with visual impairment for the rest of their lives. Now, at age 61, Clement lives a solitary life in this house. A death trap, I should say, because the mud ceiling keeps dropping off on him due to perforated roofing sheets that leak badly anytime it rains. His companion radio set keeps him abreast of current affairs. 4605434482. Despite his visual impairment, he has over 3 acres of cocoa farm and at least 4 ropes of maize farm to his credit. He leads me to his farm. I must add, before he gets to his farm, there is this dangerous crossing. Clement tells us his story. My grandfather had same challenges with his eyes, so I don't know if it is hereditary. But we used to see. I was seeing until age 15. It just started gradually and worsened. He says finance is his immediate challenge, as he could not do much this year due to lack of funds. My health became a challenge at a point, coupled with finance and how to feed myself. I have maize, but how to get the rest of the ingredients to have a good meal is a challenge. Sometimes I cook apple and add salt and eat, and sometimes I mash it and take it in. Victor is one of the neighbors on the farm. He says they have to help him with the clearing sometimes. Foya is like a father to us in the bush. We come to stay with him to make him happy and help him clear his farm. I was going to my father, but have to stop by and spend some time with him. Clement demonstrates how he takes care of his farm. He feels the weeds with his hand to be sure he is not cutting down his cocoa seedlings. But what do his immediate neighbors have to say about him? Daniel is one of them.
He works hard. He has a cocoa farm, and even sometimes I doubt how he's able to plant the cocoa, and when the farm is get bushing, how he used to clear it. He's a wonderful worker. Wonderful, very wonderful. He cannot see, but always hardworking man.
But what is motivating him to keep striving? I asked. I have the hope that one day my situation will get better. My prayer and supplication to God is that He should help me and grant me the desires of my heart. My greatest desire is to build a house. If I get my house, then I can think of marriage. Of course, I wish to get married. As for the women, they are available. If I do not have a decent place to live, how can I take care of my wife and children? Those are the things I am considering, which is why it seems I do not care. For his wishes to come to reality, we must support him. Peter Senu for Joy News.
You're still live on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM, and we're sharing much of your thoughts with the rest of the world pretty shortly. 055-11-11997. Well, tonight we've been hearing from the Education Minister Dr. Yao Say Educhum, and he's been talking about the NDC, criticizing the main opposition National Democratic Congress for spreading what he calls misinformation regarding the significant achievements made by the MPP government in education infrastructure. Listen to.
Your Excellency, your investment in education has led to the construction of many STEM high schools. And now we have moved from transforming secondary education to the transformation of public education as a whole. New schools are being built across the country.
Well, the Education Minister also asked that the country has for the first time achieved gender parity in the secondary level, as there are more girls now entering senior high schools than before.
Ghana has also attained something that has not been done by other sub-Saharan African countries: gender parity in secondary education. We have the same number of young men and as women attending secondary schools in this country. In fact, this year we're on record as we're about to get more girls than boys. A great accomplishment.
So the Education Minister there, and he's been speaking at the 15th congregation of the University of Professional Studies, UPSA. And at that same program, the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, attended, and she's optimistic that a woman will one day occupy the highest office of the land and become president someday. Well, we'll get to hear from the First Lady shortly, but let me bring in the latest groom in the whole of Ghana, Danny Cranting, with the latest from the world of sports. Hello.
Hi, Emefa. Let's go straight into the stories. And Manchester United will be eliminated from this season's UEFA Champions League if they fail to beat Bayern Munich later tonight. The Red Devils currently sit bottom of their group and need a victory against the already qualified German giants, while also needing FC Copenhagen and Galatasaray to draw in the group's other game. Erik ten Hag's men have been under pressure over the past couple of months with a string of inconsistent results, but midfielder Scott McTominay is adamant that the entire playing body remain firmly behind their manager in their quest to turn their fortunes around.
It's the players' responsibility, first and foremost. Players know that as well. We've had many amazing players over the time, and I feel like now we're at a stage where we've got big characters in the dressing room where it's not just a case of like some of the other managers where it's been a little bit toxic at times. The boys are firmly behind the manager, and that's the be all and end all. I've said that in many other interviews, and that's the way it will remain to stay. We've got amazing coaching staff as well, so people can get lost in translation and get carried away with what the players think and what they say behind closed doors. We just want to do well for the football club, and that's as simple as that.
That was Manchester United midfielder Scott McTominay speaking there. That's all for sports. Back to you, Emefa.
It's so annoying hearing them talk. It's just annoying. Gosh.
We have Coventry tonight,
Yeah, of that particular game.
You see, you never know. When you don't expect it, that's when Man U will do wonders. So we are looking forward to that tonight.
Not less than 3 goals. You want to bet on that?
Yes.
Okay.
This time I have hope that Man U will do something. I
don't know what your hope is based on. But listen, one day you may become president of the Republic of Ghana.
Amen.
You believe that?
Amen.
Well, shout again.
Amen.
Okay, listen to Auntie Becky.
I dream that one day there will be a woman president in Ghana, and the title Madam President will be said as easily as Mr. President. We hope this honor and our humble contribution to our nation will inspire girls to aspire to the very top.
Talking about inspiring girls to aspire to the very top, we already have a running mate in 2020 who was very close, actually, to becoming vice president of this great republic. Talking about vice president, there is a campaign, as you see in the NPP already, for who becomes Dr. Bawumia's running mate. But what about the NDC? Well, that is a conversation that the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Sedu Nketia, has been having. He says he's strongly indicated that no one can exert pressure on the party to hastily choose a running mate for the 2024 general elections. And there are many speculating who might become John Mahama's running mate. Well, Sedu Nketia has emphasized that the NDC will not succumb to any of those attempts to get them to do and make a decision that is hasty.
I strongly believe, at times I believe that our opponents want to push some artificial controversy within our system, hoping that that will be something that will be divided around and we will be fighting.
Okay.
But so far they haven't succeeded because our systems for choosing a running mate are never in doubt. And they are there, they have delivered. And so we are relying on that system to deliver.
Okay.
So the procedure doesn't include debates in the media about who is strong, who is weak, who is tall, who is female, who is male, and all these things. It's just people making noise to satisfy themselves. In fact, when I saw the publication that President Mahama has said he will be choosing a male, and it was a banner headline, and so I said, why? Where did this thing come from? And they say it came from his bonto.
Okay.
When I was sitting by him all along.
You didn't hear him say that?
No. So I don't know where these fabrications are coming from.
Maybe you
but
can,
just to tell viewers that we have a system of selecting a running.
Well, we'll see when that decision is made.
Whether it will be a man or a woman, we'll get to know.
What's your money on?
It will be okay.
Okay. You don't want to fall into that trap,
No,
huh? Okay.
No. But we'll stay a while longer on matters relating to politics. And a former UN governance advisor, Professor Bafo Ajimandua, is expressing concern over the persistent mismanagement of public funds by successive governments. He attributes this issue to the lack of commitment to a national developmental agenda, leading to an over-reliance on political parties for development. Well, he's been speaking on PM Express last night.
I think if we can organize a civil society and we are aware of what we need, and I believe we do, then we can make these proposals that if Party A refuses to adopt this, we are going to organize against them at the elections. Let's rebel against the parties. Look, who are the parties? The political parties are our own people, right? They are our own people. And if they are not going to do what the nation needs to move on, then I think we should begin to rebel against the political parties by threatening. And people like me, I wouldn't mind campaigning against a political party that refuses to sign on to such an agenda, which the whole nation supports. Because look, we have done this for 32 years now, getting to 32 for this Fourth Republic. And where are we? Maybe we are worse off than even we started. So I think a time has come. Don't let us begin to play around with I don't know, not with words, but so I think it's important for a serious organization of civil society to literally get this party to sign on to a national agenda. Look, these promises so far have been following I don't know if the campaign has started, but I've been following the pronouncements. I'm going to give you, I'll build you school, I'll build you this. What are you going to build with? What are you going to build with? The exchequer is empty. So you're going to borrow again. Then we compound our economic woes. Is that what they want? So I think we need to begin to look at the fundamentals.
What about third force? That's a conversation that we've been having for quite a while. He believes the challenge is the monetization of politics currently, that the two main parties, the NDC and the MPP, have managed to conspire to enforce.
It's getting difficult for quote-unquote third forces to come in because the parties have successfully monetized the political process. And they do it shamelessly. Because they come on radio to tell us how much they pass to delegates to get them elected. They're already monetizing. So if the third force has to emerge and has to do the same thing, I'm not sure they can compete with them. There's a need, in fact, for Sudote's lecture talking about changing the mindset of people. It's critical. Because right now, the parties have succeeded in indoctrinating citizens about taking money from them for them getting their support. So election comes, everybody is looking for money from politicians, and they're happy to provide that so that they can win power. So, look, if we don't change the mindset and we don't change the system to make it more difficult for potential leaders to do their work with dignity and integrity, then it's still going to be difficult.
As a Professor Bafo Ajimandia, always a delight to listen to him. He was on PM Express. The full interview is also available on our social media platforms. But this Friday on PM Express Personality Profile, Aisha Ibrahim will be hosting the chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia. And you had snippets of that interview already on the running mate issues. And I can't wait for that interview.
You know the thing about personality interview on PM Express that I look forward to?
The exercises.
And the dance. And the dance. And the dance.
Was there a dance this time?
I'm pretty sure there was.
Let's call Aisha.
I'm pretty sure there was. I mean, first off, I want to hear the song he chose. And I want to see his dancing skills.
Can you imagine?
He will.
Aisha will get you to dance no matter who you are.
Absolutely.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Or whether there's an exercising or anything like that. It's at 9 p.m.
9 p.m. on Friday.
And it'll be on our social media platforms as well. Yeah. But let's get updates on this interdiction of GES head teachers, amongst others. You know, there were some concerns raised by the GES, and we're told that now that committee has been set up. Yesterday, the CHAS was hoping that an investigative committee will be put together on the issues about interdictions, amongst others. That has happened now, and it comes after the service suspended about 11 head teachers for the alleged misconduct. Now, according to the Ashanti Regional PRO for GES, Henry Osei-Boateng, the committee has been mandated to investigate this particular alleged wrongdoing. Listen.
Well, at the moment, there was a committee to investigate the report. And therefore, individuals were not asked about whether they are guilty or not, because that is the work of the committee. We deal with the Code of Conduct of Ghana Education Service. And within the Code of Conduct, there are sanctions for certain offenses. So if individuals are found culpable, then it means the sanctions appropriate will be meted to them.
Well, he also has a caution to parents. He's asked that head teachers also should alert the GES if the need arises.
At the moment, what we are saying is that they should stick to the admission process. After that, if they have a challenge, they have to let the authorities be aware of it, and we'll solve it. But at the moment, this is admission process. We want them to admit the student and then talk about the challenges that they face with the authorities so the solution will be provided.
And that's the situation with the GES and the interdiction of head teachers, amongst others. But we'll be mourning one beautiful soul today. We lost her last night. That's Zahara. She didn't live long enough to fully achieve the dream. But to make no mistake, South African Afro-pop singer Zahara touched many souls around the world until her passing last night in Johannesburg at the age of 36. Her Loliwe hit song reached every corner of the world.
Years ago, she released a worldwide hit, Loliwe, which swept through the world like wildfire. Zahara's contribution to the music industry earned her numerous accolades, making her a beloved figure among fans and peers alike. A year ago, she visited Ghana to commemorate 11 years of her Loliwe hit single and featured on Joy FM's Personality Profile with Lexus Bell.
I never knew about the industry. I wrote my music to inspire people, to give hope to people. So when people in Ghana, it's like my music, I'm a household name. It's in every house, I'm a household name. So that means what I was praying for, what I wanted to do.
Zahara unfortunately has been battling with ill health for some time. On 27 November, her family and team confirmed the situation by releasing a statement on social media. Zahara could not make it and passed away on Monday, 11 December, in a Johannesburg hospital. For Joy News, I am Jacqueline Ansuma Iabua.
That's a powerful song indeed. I fell in love with the song because of Lex's film. I still got an opportunity to interact with her at length. This song used to open his shows, and it was really touching.
You know the meaning?
Tell me.
It's about the train.
The train?
It talks about the fact that it's pushing and more like heading towards heaven. If you want to go there, pray and to wipe off your tears amongst others. It looks like everything in this song just talks about her and how we ought to accept her death. May that train take her safely to the final destination.
On that train mode, let's bring in Peps.
Hi.
Hello, Peps.
Good evening.
Hi, Peps. What are we talking about tonight?
It's all like
When?
Christmas. The whole of December is Christmas.
Okay.
Evans.
You know, I've forgotten that it's December.
We
The whole of
forgot
December is Christmas for you.
Yeah.
Even 25th is not Christmas enough for me. Because I'll be
Anyway,
working.
really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all of us.
Oh, please.
I would.
You would?
Yes, I will be working.
Okay. For once, I'll be here with you and if I won't be around.
Maybe.
No, I'm certain of that. What do you have in the hair? What do you have? I was going to say what do you have in the hair. Now I'm confused.
Right. This evening we'll be looking at how to choose the perfect tech gift for Christmas. Our top recommendations. We'll be
Perfect
sharing.
gift, yeah?
Yes.
Everyone's
Tech
listening.
gift.
Tech.
Yes.
gift.
Yes.
Tech gift.
You don't like
iPhone
stuff like that.
15.
You don't like
Mazda. I don't like
That's
tech for the way. iPhone 15 is not tech. What is it?
It is.
Mazda.
I'll buy a software.
Alexa.
That's tech. Okay.
We'll
That's
stay for
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
We'll stay
Yes,
for that,
yes,
Peps.
yes,
and
we
that's
should.
on Geek